Hey there, this lesson is very important, just like almost every other lesson in this course. But it is so important to realize consistency and persistence is key. Building up your habit is one of your number one priorities, whether it has something to do with reading, cleaning your house, calling your clients, or writing. Without the consistency of your habits and the persistence to continue moving forward with daily actions towards your big goal, you will delay or maybe not even reach what you're working towards. That would be a sad sight to see, as I really want you to succeed at what you're striving for, especially after taking this course. We are 37 lessons in, 37 plus lessons into the course. So by now you should have already built up a very strong habit of at least reading, and I hope many other things too. You have probably heard the words overnight success before as well. An overnight success story is a false one. It may seem like a person is able to all of the sudden become famous and maybe even wealthy overnight, but in reality, that person has put in years or even decades into their trade. They had to be consistent and persistent while developing their talent, product, or service you see in front of your eyes. Not only that, but they had to absolutely love what they were doing so much that it became part of their everyday life. Because they have made it part of their everyday life and actions that they've taken, which are all related to their big goal, they have come out a better person. You have to eat, breathe, and sleep on what you're working on. That doesn't mean burning out or forgetting about everything else. And that's why I mentioned about, taking up a hobby, relaxing, right? All of those things are also key to your success. We cannot neglect balance in our life. When you see their beautiful final product, the one that they've created just for you, you won't even realize how much work went into it because you weren't there for the creation process. But if you are an avid self-development reader, a nonfiction reader, you will probably already know that a lot of work goes into it. But a lot of people don't realize it. Maybe you don't realize it, and that's okay. Because we don't see the creation process. We never really see the creation process unless that person writes a book or creates a film about it or basically publishes something about it, maybe on their YouTube channel or on their social media. We never know what people are actually doing behind the scenes unless they actually tell us. But when you actually go through the steps yourself, for sure, you will realize how much energy, maybe even failure, changes, happiness, sadness goes into making your big goal come true. It will be a mixed bag of emotions. That's inevitable. The ride is not smooth. It could be smooth in some parts. You could have such a high that you feel the best you have ever felt before in your life, but you could also feel the worst you have ever felt in your life while doing while building your empire or building up your skill. So, how do you overcome those challenges? How do you stay consistent and persistent? I've got a list of 8 awesome things you can do. So number 1 is always remember what your big goal is. If you keep that in your mind, you always keep it at the front. You know what you're working towards. You know what you want. And that is probably a fourth of the battle. I know a lot of people say half the battle, Maybe it's half the battle, who knows? But there's a lot of work that goes into that. But if you keep that front and center, that will motivate you. That will keep you consistent and persistent. So keep it there. Always front and center. Number 2, always do your best. Nothing more and nothing less. Right? I think I talked about this before. If you remember back, we did talk about this before. It is a takeaway from The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So definitely read that book if you haven't already. But if you just take my advice for it, always do your best. Nothing more, nothing less will help you stay consistent, because you will realize, hey, what can I do? What can I do today to help me reach my big goal, to get me closer to reaching my big goal? And if you know that you're doing your best, then awesome. It's a fantastic feeling. If you know that you're not doing enough, you will feel a little bit lazy. You will feel like, oh man, I could do better than this. And if you're doing too much, you will burn out. So just a little reminder for that little rule. Number 3, build up your daily habits and make sure each one aligns with your big goal. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure we're reaching our big goal. You're going to do everything you can. So each of the daily habits you have should be helping you to reach your big goal. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't, spend time with your family. And that actually, spending time with your family is part of the picture, right? Because family is so important. If you're married and you have kids, it is so important, right? If you're not married, you don't have kids yet, maybe you have parents that need your help, or maybe not. Maybe you're just by yourself. Well, think about your future family, right? So everything you do in your life should have some sort of purpose and should try and help you reach your big goal. 4, conserve your energy for the most important projects. So you're not going to want to waste your time on little tiny projects that maybe don't even really matter, or maybe they do matter, but the bigger ones matter even more. So you have to really keep that in your mind about what sort of projects am I doing to help me go forward, and saving that energy, the most energy, for the biggest projects. Okay. Number 5, also don't rush. Now, I know in today's society, in the 21st century, 2019, 2020, right? 2021, this decade, and so forth, a lot of people are saying, go, 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 rush, 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 hustle, 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 right? A lot of people say this. And I think more and more people are realizing that this is not the right type of attitude to have, at least not for balance, right? Which is actually the next step here. Balance between work, relationships, and relaxation. So don't rush, and balance between work, relationships, and relaxation go kind of hand in hand. So, but don't rush is more about okay, make sure you have everything planned. Make sure you have it well set out. That way, when you do take action, you are set to go. And of course, it is okay to fail. Basically, just don't make stupid mistakes, right? We can avoid stupid mistakes. We cannot avoid all mistakes, but we can avoid some of them, right? So that's what I mean by don't rush. Okay? All right, and let's talk a little bit more about balance between work, relationships, and relaxation. So we have talked about a little bit about this in the time for rest module, and have a hobby, right? So I just want to emphasize the fact that this is extremely important for your well-being, because if you never make time for your relationships, for relaxation, for yourself, if you're just working and working and working, you are bound to burn out. You are bound to burn out if you never make time for relaxation. And relationships themselves, if you're always working and you're never paying attention to anyone else except yourself, then your relationships are going to suffer, especially if you're married. So keep all of this into consideration when you're doing your daily tasks. Make time for daily relaxation, daily time with your spouse, your boyfriend or girlfriend, daily time for yourself if you're not married or don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? So this is extremely important. Extremely. Okay? Number 7, evaluate your progress. Reflect. Another way to say that, reflect on your progress. Reflection is such a great tool, especially if you're doing it in your journal or maybe your brain dumps. You reflect on what you have done, what you have failed at, what you have not accomplished yet. If you reflect on all of these, you will know exactly where you stand. You will know exactly where you stand, right? If you do not evaluate, if you do not reflect, you won't know. You may think you know, but you won't fully know. You won't 100% know. So reflection is such a great and very important aspect to reaching your big goal and taking action on what you want to take action on. And if you keep on doing the same mistakes over and over because you haven't reflected, because you have not evaluated, then you're missing out on a big opportunity to change your bad habits and turn them into successful ones. Okay? So number 8 is finish what you start and move on. So if you do not finish what you start and you just keep on moving on to the next thing without finishing, then, well, this is going to be a problem, right? You will have a big pile of unfinished tasks. So it's really important to finish what you start. And if you realize in the end that, well, maybe this is not working out for me, then drop it and move on, right? So it really depends on the task and whether it's really going to work out. But you should hold yourself accountable for the things you start. Once you start it, try to finish it. The rules above are like guardrails. They keep you going on the right track towards your big goal. If you ever feel like you're slipping, remember these rules. Keep them handy, write them down, put them somewhere so that you can remember. With consistent, smart work and persistence through any problem, you will eventually be able to reach your big goal. Eventually is better than never at all, right? So don't be too hard on yourself if you are taking much longer than you expected to reach your big goal. As long as you're making real progress, don't worry about how long it takes you. And I want to kind of extend a little bit on this fact. Now, with Bookmatic, I've been working on Bookmatic since 2015. So that's, as of right now, this recording, that's 5 years. Okay, so it took me 5 years to get up to this point. So where will I be 5 years from now, right? 5 years is quite a long time to get a business up and running. To get something like this up and running, 5 years is quite a long time. So my message to you is, well, this is lifelong learning. This is lifelong learning. So don't worry about how long it will take you to accomplish something. Not saying that we have all the time in the world, because we don't, right? We are going to pass away someday. So we do have a finite time, but try to experiment, learn, grow, right? That is what Bookmatic is all about. Experimenting, learning, growing. SPAR, basically, right? Study, plan, action, repeat. Learn, plan, experiment, repeat, right? We've got this process here. And that's why I have built this course. And that's why it took me so long, because I personally had to experiment with it. This is practical. This is practical work. So in order for you to build up practical work, you need to take as much time as you possibly can. As much time as it takes you. Don't worry about what other people say. If you've got someone nagging down your neck and saying, "Oh, why don't you get a business up and running? Why don't you make more money? Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you?" They keep on asking you, right? Don't worry about that person. Maybe the person has well-meaning for you, but if they're saying it like that, and if that's the only thing that they're concerned about, then what kind of person is that, right? What kind of person is that? So take the time you need. I'm going to stop ranting on and let you know that there is a printable PDF that you can print out all these reminders, or you can just write it down, like I said, the 8 reminders, the 8 rules about how to stay consistent and persistent. Then you can move on to the next lesson after you do that. So thank you. I hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next lesson.